Hey guys, in this update, just going to cover the frustrations, I guess, the stress and everything associated with home building that I'm going through. Going to start on the electrical. I've made a decision to go with MGL avionics, so I'll talk through that. And the build continues just with the center console. So it's one of those parts where you spend a lot of time but there's not much to show for your work. And also taking a break, pointing at the fishing rods behind me there, taking a break just to reset a bit, but always constantly thinking about the home build aircraft. Hope you enjoy this one. Alright, here we go. So just starting on the console, or the instrument panel. So my plan is to dry fit everything. I'll get everything installed, cut out and installed, and then it's all going to come back out again, and then I'll cover the dash once I'm pretty sure I've drilled all the holes. So I've just started off here. I've got my starter button. Starter button will go at the top there. The reason I've got the starter button at the top is it sort of do all your checks, clear prop, you lift your eyes up, you're looking out the windscreen, and ergonomically going to press the button. It's up there, it's out of the way, and shows over as far as the starter button. Then I've got some just laid out my, these are circuit breakers from Aircraft Spruce, 20mm spacings, and you can see where that's heading. So I'm trying to, well, it doesn't really matter how many I need, but I've got it down to six circuit breakers. I'm trying to keep it simple. I am going with the stock factory panel. I believe it's 15 thou, but I'm trying to save as much weight. I haven't mentioned it much before, but you've got to build light. So it's a fairly light panel. I'm going to reinforce around the throttle where the throttle cable will go through. That'll cop a bit of a flogging. And once the mounts, so I've got an MGL in there. I'm going to have the radio. So the MGL will be either 8.5 or 10.5 inch, depending on the shock I get from the invoice. The radio, and the main reason I've got it here, the Guardian iPad mount. Now I was going to leave that out, but the main reason, it makes a really light, I think anyway, 4 screws. Take it out and you'll have that big access panel or access hole, and then the benefit is you put an iPad in the front there. Passenger can watch videos if they want, so, but also for navigation. But that's my answer to either hinging, that all just adds weight, hinging the panel, coming up with all these shelves. There's some real Gucci inventions out there, hats off to some of these guys, but I'm trying to keep it simple and it needs to be light. So that's where we're at on the panel. Good chance just to clamp everything and just get the switches nice and square in relation to the bottom of the dash or the panel. Alright, a few people seem to think I'm smashing the aircraft out and going pretty quick, but I think I find just a little bit often seems to be working for me. So tonight all I've done is pulled the dash out, drawn it up, whole deburred, mounted the starter switch, mounted that momentary switch up the top there, positioned and drilled my holes for the circuit breakers, 6 of, through there. I refitted the panel just to make sure that the frame tube here doesn't hit this particular circuit breaker. So that's all fine. And throttle, which I haven't got yet, so 1/4 inch hole. My flap switch, I've got this flash, I think all the cool cats are using it. Flap lever switch, if you like, just makes the toggle switch bigger. So that'll go in there. And I've just spent the last while cutting out for my elevator trim. So switch, boom, drops in nice and square, and drilled the holes, good to go. And this fella, the indicator, LED indicator, just spent a bit of time getting that basically perfect. Bit of mucking around, but my philosophy is I'd rather than rush ahead and smash out the whole panel tonight, the bits I have done are square, they're perfect. Spent a bit of time, it's all hand cut, fold the edges out, and then put my my relief in the corner, just radius the corners. You can see it more on that one. So good to go. A little bit often, and we're getting there. So working on the panel still. Just cut out the hole for the iPad, got the gloves on, been filing for ages. Nice and steady. My dad always used to say you can always take more off. And boom, iPad mount fits in there beautifully. So another little job done. Alright, we've got the header tank, it's pretty much in. Just the feed and the vent lines to go on the header tank. Fuel line comes along. I've just started on the centre console. So I've gone with the Dell clamps and wax string to tie my looms up. So I've got all that in there nicely. And the Dell clamps on the side to run the loom up to the top. And obviously some goes to the switches, some go to my buzz bars. Also toying with the idea, sort of trying to keep everything away from the controls, but I might even put the pitot tubes. I thought about running them up the middle of the tube actually. It just goes back too far, but that'd be a great spot to put the pitot tubes inside that tube and run them straight out the front. It just goes back a wee bit too far. So I might even tape them, because this actually only moves, I measured it, the tube only rotates about 1/4 of an inch. So I may even just fit the pitot lines across the top of this tube and they can just turn. But we'll see how we go with that. That's how the centre console is progressing and started on the wiring. Alright guys, electrical system and the dashboard. I was a bit worried about this at the start. I'm the type of bloke that struggled to wire up my trailer, to be honest. But a lot of reading, talking to mates, I'm going to get stuck into it. So I've started off with a bit of show and tell here, I guess. Started with my panel. So I'm slowly cutting out my panel. After previous videos, I had all the stickers, similar to these, with all my dots, placed items everywhere. So I made a start on my panel. Also, I've just I rang up today, I made a choice on MGL, so MGL Avionics. So I've rung up, ordered a 10.5 inch screen. Also I've got coming, from memory, I've got a V16 radio or a V16 transceiver, an SP6 compass, and the RDAC. So nice and simple up the front. So once I cut out my slot for the screen, I've made up another shelf. It'll go obviously between the firewall and the dashboard or the instrument panel. Keep calling it a dashboard if I'm not building a car. Nice and sturdy shelf. I've left the ends free to obviously run wires down rather than straight through. So another shelf. On my first shelf, I made a start on the got the bus bars, clearly identifiable. A couple of leads coming off there already, just a bit of practice. So that's the shelf that'll go. So the whole idea there is I'll have my buzz bars, the shelf, sitting in behind the mount for the iPad, which I'll show you now. Just the Guardian iPad, spring-loaded iPad mount that will go into the dash if I don't squash the screws in there beforehand. And I've already showed you that bolts nicely into the dashboard, which gives me nice access, I believe, to this tray. And the same on the other side, when I fit the EFA screen will come out, and that'll give me plenty of room to this tray, which will be the V16 and potentially the compass, although I may have to isolate the compass for obvious reasons, get it away from all the metal aircraft. It might hover down below somewhere. We'll work that one out. Also I've got the roll of wax string in front of me here. I'm using the wax string instead of pan jute straps everywhere. So on my looming that I'm running through the centre console and behind the dash, behind that instrument panel, I'll be putting, going to use the wax string instead. Just got to work on my knots. Maybe a drop of super glue might help. Alright, so I've also got my little flap motor switch ready to go in, and I got this cool little the cool little flap switch as well, which will go onto that. So my panel, elevator trim ready to go in. When I get the elevator down, which is up above me here, the LEDs. One issue, concern I've got at the moment, so the LEDs on the panel will go in from the back. That's fine, so I can connect these up and remove the panel. But the elevator trim switch goes through the panel from the outside. So if I was to wire that up now, I'm going to hardwire it, solder it, there's fors and against soldering, I know, but I'm going to solder it up, keep it simple, which means that then I can't get it out. So I'll leave that to the last minute once the instrument panel's installed completely. Other issues I guess you go through as I'm trying to direct this to someone who's contemplating building an aeroplane in their shed, I guess. I sort of knew I'd get to this point where I've basically got the airframe complete, and now I'm starting to run into a lot of decisions to be made and a lot of not hold-ups. The only reason there's a hold-up is because I haven't made a decision. Like I've made a decision now on the avionics, so when that comes in I'll be able to fit that and get a head start, go ahead, forge ahead on the panel. Once I get the panel in, hopefully my engine mount and the cowl will have arrived, and then obviously get the engine after that. So I guess there's a lot of times when you sort of feel a bit alone making all these decisions. You can ask 10 different people and get 10 different opinions. End of the day, forge your own path and make your own decisions. Just one other bit of advice, if you like, that I find, building your own aircraft, mentally it just takes over. Thinking about it all the time, how I'm going to do this, do I have to bend up a bracket, or do I zip tie it or glue it, whatever. I think it's very important to take a break. Obviously get the family involved as well, but I like to, got the fishing rods behind me there. Today I went down to the beach, but also my previous hobby, or still a hobby of mine, flying RC model aircraft. So I dug a few gliders out, and I'll throw a clip up after this, but just to get out of the shed and back to reality, especially in these COVID times we're in at the moment. I ducked out, had a quick flight with some of my gliders. Okay, time for something a little different. Dust off the glider. Got a northerly blowing. I went for a fly in the Jabiru the other day and scared myself a bit. Northerly, get a lot of rotor over the hills apparently at Latrobe Valley, so got a nice breeze. I come fishing out here, so we'll try and give the glider a go. Now, because I haven't flown RC models for so long, my battery's died, so I whacked a good old Eneloop pack in there because I didn't trust the other ones. But it doesn't quite fit, but that's all right. It'll do its job. How was that, Chloe? Good?
Yeah.
We have fun?
Yes.
Bit cold?
Yeah.
Let's go home?
Yeah.
Okay. So one final little recap where we're up to. Center console. I've run my wiring loom, fuel line down through there, through the console. Can't hit the joystick or the flow controls. Fuel valve. These Adele clamps, they're not done up yet. They're oversized. I've still got to probably run the 2 pitot tubes through them as well, and done the lacing, if you like, or the wax string all the way through. So we are ready. Just got to build the panel now, and waiting on an engine mount still. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Short and sweet. Like I said, not much to show, but there's a lot of work that's involved in getting the centre section all sorted out. Also got the header tank in there. A little bit often, and eventually we'll go flying. Thanks for watching.